It's an honor and it's a privilege. And I'm grateful to God for all his grace and mercy. And because without that, I would not be here. And I want to thank Irene. She asked me earlier this year, would I do this? And I said yes. Then I went home and I said, God, you can't possibly want me to do this. It must be a mistake. So I've been waiting for months for them to call and say, oh, we're sorry, we changed our minds, right? And I want to thank Dave. He called me about the hotel, and we talked. And I want to thank Anthony, the host. And I want to thank everyone for that. Food was beyond belief. It was great. And you all have shown me so much love, kindness, and consideration. And I thank you. And I try to wake up every day with an attitude of gratitude. Because where I was and where God has brought me from is beyond belief. And I grew up down south in Alabama, between Alabama and Florida. And that's how I grew up, and it's down south. And we went between, I was born in a little place called Happy Bottoms. It was a little town in Florida. And that's where I was born. It was 8 of us. I was the oldest of 8. And we're between, when we go to Alabama, my father wouldn't be there. I don't know if he was in, I can't remember where he was. Then we go back to Florida. And it was Graceville, Florida. And he left us there, and he was going to send for us, but he never did. So my mother's father, he came to visit, and he made sure we got, that's how we got to LA in 1965. After we got there, the Watts riot broke out. And I was frightened, I was terrified, because it's someplace new, we didn't understand it. And my grandfather lived in the front. He had a big rooming house, and we lived in a little shack in the back. And I could never understand why he allowed us to live like that. He had the huge rooming house. Maybe because he felt my mother had a husband, he didn't like my father, but that's how we lived. We was on top of each other, and we were poor. So a lot of times the lights would be off. Food would be scarce. My mother always said, you can take nothing and make something, and she fed us. And that's what my life started with. And I had an issue with being black, because when I looked at television, everybody was white, they was having a good life. Why can't I have that, right? And I had prejudice, but over the years coming to AA, I can't afford it, because I don't know who's going to save my life in AA, and the color does not matter. It doesn't matter how much money I have, the clothes I wear. Your skin color does not matter, because you'll be the one that God wants me to get the message from. And if I have that door closed, I could die. And I was an ungrateful child. I had that hellfire brimstone God that I got in Alabama, because we went to church every Sunday. We walked. My mother on Saturday was hair day. She got my hair first. She got my sister next to me, and the baby girl was last. And she had rules about your hair. Every 2 weeks, we got our hair pressed, and you do not touch it. And we all had beautiful hair. I've had hair all my life. And you take care of your hair, okay? And that's the kind of mother she was. And she didn't have it easy. She was an only child. My grandfather, her father, left her with his mother. And one day she had to go stay with her mother. And my grandmother was a humdinger. The genes are all through my blood. I know that today. And we came to LA, and my grandfather's got us there, but it was poor, and my mother didn't know how to drive. And my father was a womanizer, and we would go to the grocery store, we'd walk and carry our groceries, and he would pass us by with women in the car. But she always said, I'm not going to talk about him, you will learn about him for yourself. And I must say, he did the best he could with what he had, and prior to his death, he had married another woman, with lung cancer. He had to have a trach and tube in his stomach. And I was pregnant with my last girl. And what happened was, he was married to this woman. He was in the hospital. They had to cut this. We went to the room, and it was like a tornado hit. He was fighting. He didn't want him to, this boy's spots. But prior to that, he took us down to Teamsters, and he made it right. He said, I was so wrong for the way I treated you and your mother. And the woman that he married, he took his pension and everything, gave it to my mother and his 8 children before he died. And he died peacefully. And I learned from that, I can do wrong, but if I repent and ask for forgiveness, God will forgive me. And that's what he did. He died in peace, and we were able to bury him. have a service for him. And the reason I was able to do that, because I was deep in my disease. I got pregnant. And the guy at the time, he said, you will not bring a drug-addicted child into this world. So we cut the drugs. And that's the only reason I was able to bring that child home for that 9 months. And I know women that could not do, they use all through their drinking and their using, they're not able to do that. And that was God's grace that I was able to do that. And I left home at 16. I had to go. My mother had to go to work. She went to school. She did days work. In Alabama, she did days work. I was sharing with them. We had the fountains, the black here, the white there. And I had to go to the back door to talk to my mother. But I wasn't angry about it, but I just realized later on what it was all about. And so when we came to California, she worked in Jewish people home. So when she went to the school board, she went to school, she became custodian for LA Unified School District. So I had to take over her place at home. I had to come in and cook, clean, leave school, get home, get dinner, bathe them, get the house clean, do all that stuff. So by 16, I was an adult. My youngest brother, he was a baby. He thought I was his mother. I go somewhere, he grabbed my legs and cried. He was so attached to me. So I grew up very fast. And by 16, I'm ready to go. I got something to go do. They were trying to hold on to me. But I had that wild streak. I just had to go. You trying to hold me back, I'm missing out on life. So what I attempted to do, this neighbor, it was an alley. The Currys over here, the 8 here, and the Blackwells over here, was like 12, 14 of them. So we cut across that alley, right? Of course, I picked up one of the brothers, right? I didn't even know how old he was. I didn't care. I just wanted to get him out this house. So I said to him, if you talk to my daddy, he'll let me marry you, right? He just think about it. I said, I'm sure he would. I told him, he's going to do it. Trust me, he's going to do it. So he asked my daddy, and my daddy said, no. What you mean, no? So I hooked up with old boy. He was at school. We got together, right? And I started ditching school. My father said no that night. And prior to that, I had hooked up this guy's school, just like little boyfriend, girlfriend. Because, back then, the boys come to the house. I don't know about your house. In my house, the mama was there, the daddy was there. And they sat right there. And I was like, why are they sitting here? They watch you. Because the girl could get pregnant. Duh. I didn't think about that. I just wanted the attention, the company. And so anyway, that they allowed him to come, and we snuck around and stuff. But getting back to this guy that I wanted to marry, that's when prior to that, I was sharing with them, I remembered last night that my first using was not a bottle of river wine and a joint. It was angel dust. And I was walking home from school, and this guy says, you want some angel dust? I said, sure. He said, come on. I said, let's go. So I went with him and to his house. I don't know whose house it was. I just went. And we got this angel dust. We did it, right? I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just said, yeah. And I'm jumping up and down in this bed. Like a little, I'm just jumping up and down this bed all excited. And then I did it with him and I left. And then later on, I manipulated this guy to try to get my father to marry him, for me to marry him. So he approached my father. My father said no. I said, I will show you. And I ran away from home. And Jesse was an older dude, like a family friend. I saw him. And I had a bottle of Ripple wine. And I turned that bottle straight up. And I had a joint. And I don't know how, him was walking up and down the street. It was Normandy and Jefferson. It was at night. And there was a bar. And upstairs was rooms. I ended up going upstairs to this room. And I'm on this bed. And I know Jesse had to take me up there. I know it was fuzzy. And I'm laying on this bed. And in my subconscious, I'm in trouble. And I see this man come through the door with a hat on and like a suit. And I can't get off that bed. I'm in trouble and I can't move. I can't. I want to yell, but it won't come out. And the next thing I know, my daddy come through that door. Because he had told people, when you see my kids, if they need a quarter nickel, give it to them. And they told him where I was, and he got me out of there, and they sent me straight to juvenile hall. And I cried. I won't do it again. And they couldn't stand it, so they came and got me. And I kept doing what I was doing. And then I got the bright idea, I'm gonna leave home at 16. I moved in with this guy, his mom. And I had gotten pregnant. And I finally told my mother I was so scared. And she told, he was beating me, my father was beating me, and I was under the table, Paul, she's pregnant, don't beat her. And my daddy cried. It hurt him so bad. Because he worked for Leeway Truck, and he part of the Teamsters. He said, you don't have to leave home, stay here, had a baby, we'll help you. You can go to school, you can get a scholarship. And I couldn't do it. I had to do it my way. And that's my life has been, my way or no way. And I'm very self-willed. And they only wanted the best for me. That's all they wanted. My mother was there. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke cigarettes. We went to church. She did our hair. She was a mother. And I don't know if we fully appreciated what we had. And she loved her kids. And she let people know, if my children do anything, you come talk to me. And when we go somewhere, she'd sit you down. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. And we go somewhere, she look at you, back it up. She didn't play. She was a quiet person, but if you stir her up, it's like a ram of bull. Watch out. She coming for you. And I loved her, and she seen me get sober. I was 10 years sober before she passed away with Alzheimer's, and God graced me with that. And so I left home, had 2 kids with this guy, and I finally got an apartment of our own, and I was on welfare. And when I talked to the lady next door, she lived in the front, I said, I need my own place. Because we lived with his mother, I didn't feel comfortable there. And I knew how to cook and clean all that stuff, so Miss Sanders, that was her name, and she gave me an apartment in the back. I don't know how much it wasn't like it is today. And I got that apartment, and one day I was waiting for the welfare check to come. It did not come, and that's all I had. And I said, God, give me to Monday morning. And I got up, went to a business college downtown LA, and I went to school for 1 year and 3 months, and I graduated. I learned how to type or do office stuff. And my mother was at the district. She said, Betty, go to the district, get a job, you know. And I didn't. I went to school, and then I know I went to school in the day, and I worked at night. That's what I did. And I dropped my 2 boys off at my mother's. Because the guy I was with, we was wild, okay? He did his life, I did mine. We just passed each other. Sometimes we'd see him for days, he wouldn't see me for days. I go stir around, he stir around. That's the way it was. You do you, I do me. Just don't bring it to the door, we good, okay? And I was not a good wife. And I know one day I was complaining to his mother about him. She said, now, okay, Betty, you done some things too. I didn't know she saw me, because see, it was a fence between us, and I was having men come to our home, because I paid the rent. I do what I want to do. I run this. You're a guest. That's how I thought and felt. Then I think today, if he had came in there, saw me in bed with another man, he could have took my life too. But I didn't think like that, and that's who I was. And I leave him, go back, leave him, go back, and that was my history. And I got a job with LA Unified School District. I started part-time. I had 2 kids. I rode the bus across town, had to go away to Westchester to get to work. I worked 12 to 4, that's how I started off. And I worked that job. I was there for many years. And then I finally left that first husband. His grandmother's in Texas. She bought us a beautiful home in LA. And all I had to do was pay $100 a month. And he got him a job with the city, Public Works. He didn't come home. He was cocaining with a woman. I was doing something with other people. Drugs has always been a part of my alcohol and drugs. And so I finally left, and he met this woman he wanted to be with, and he said, you can leave if you want to. Hindsight, I should have stayed and stuck it out, but I was too wild. I'm going, you do you, I'm fine, I'm gone. And I did that and met this guy on my job who helped me to pick my kids up. He was living with a woman. I got involved with this man. That's this abusive marriage that I ended up for 30-something years. And he passed away a year ago, this past August. And it was a horrific abuse. And why I stayed, I do not know. I would leave, I would go back. And I know, I was thinking too, I remember one day, he had beaten me, that's what my finger, I typed for the district, and his finger had swollen up. And I called the doctor, I said, I better go see, but I just had a feeling if I didn't go, I was gonna lose that finger. So I went to the doctor to get the ring cut off. And that day I was gonna go to my mama's house, right? I said, I'm gonna go straight to Mud Deer house. We call him Mud Deer. I go to the front and get off the bus. He's right behind me. He's like, you on your mama's house? You ain't going to your mama's house today. He was following me. And the next thing he said, what he would do to my family. And I had left him. And he said, my mother's garage afire. He wanted me to know, wherever you go, I can reach you. And that's how I live. And I got drugged out, and I was working for the district. He sent him a letter saying I was on cocaine. And I kept going back. And it got worse, didn't get better. Last placement, they told me, we got the first program. They said, if you come again, we'll take your kids. And it was a whole deal with that. And my kids were taken. And they was in the system at least 10 years. And after that, it's like, what the use? What, you know, what's the purpose, you know? And I just disintegrated down, down, down. And he reminded me constantly of who and what I wasn't. But I always said to myself that, God, one day I won't be here. I don't know why. I didn't have this over-loving relationship with God, but I said, one day I won't live like this. And I did a geographic with him, and my mother, her front yard, she looked at me, she said, Betty, it does not matter where you go. I didn't understand it. And we went to Sacramento. He ended up in jail. I ended up in the firehouse. It was a shelter for women, and I still stayed. And I kept going, and one day I said, that's why I would go, like if I get sober for 30 days, be a newcomer, you know, and I relapsed, I run to the meeting downtown in Sacramento, and I would go there, and I'd stand up as a newcomer. And there was a guy that sat in the corner, that cowboy had like was 20-gallon hat, right? And I always looked at him, he was in that corner, he's always focused on this man. And I think about him sometimes, so he probably not living, but let him know I did get sober. Because he would look at me, I did get it, right? And we were there, and I ended up working. I used to bathe, and we ended up homeless. That's right. We left L.A., we went to Oakland, and we had this house, and it's about going foreclosure, so we sold it, right? We bought a car, we went to Oakland, and was on our way to Sacramento. We got into it, he set me up, and I was jumped. I was beaten. And I didn't realize he had set me up. And I got away from him, and I ran through this neighborhood, and I knocked on this woman's door. I said, look, someone is after me, will you help me? And it was a white lady, and she let me in to use her phone. I called my brother in Sacramento. And I got to the bus station, and I got on the bus and went to Sacramento. And and I signed up in Sacramento. And he and I got back with him. We had this car. We had all this money. And we puffed and drank and puffed and drank in the motels. And one day the car burned up. We had no car, and we ended up sleeping homeless. I became homeless for over a year, sleeping on the ground. And it was cold, it was hot, and I did not care. Went to, what's that, not Taco Bell, what's the other little taco place? Del Taco. And they had like them dollar burritos or something. And you go in there and they would let you sit there and drink water. We wasn't rude. We go in there and we would eat there. And when it was summertime, be hot, we go to the Capitol and sleep on the lawn in the daytime to get some rest. And we took our blankets and hide them out, you know, so we can get them later. And we did for about over a year. And I would start looking for a job, and I would go to Woolworths, and I would bathe in the bathroom, go to a job interview. And I ended up with a job at Pioneer House, the Pioneer House. No, prior to that, we went to, before we got that, we were homeless. It was a big storm coming. That's what a huge storm was going to hit Sacramento. And a couple of days, we went to the Loaves and Fishes. We get in line, said, not today, come tomorrow. They couldn't get us. Next day, we went, no, not today, come tomorrow. We went the next day, and they let us in, and they poured cats and dogs. I went to the Women's Salvation Army, he went to the men. And we got a little job doing some stuff, you know, government stuff. And we did some crooked stuff, okay? And I think about that constantly. Jail's institution of death. And God protected me for that. As of today, no one has put handcuffs on me, okay? And so we did that, and we got out of the shelter, and I think they helped us with housing, but I found me a job. I went to look for a job at Pioneer House, and it was like being a waitress, a retirement home for 150 people, and I was a waitress, setting up the tables, you know, you got the little uniform. It was cool. It was old people, so I like folks, you know. And so I had a good time with the old folks. I like people, I just love people. So then there was a guy, now this goes to show you how your thinking is. Now I'm drinking and drugging all through. I need the money to get high, right? And so this guy is the cook. He's sweating, he big dude, he's sweating and whopping, and I know he's drinking. So I'm there for almost a year or whatever, and Sharon comes and says, Betty, how would you like to be the cook? Who, me? She said, yeah, we're gonna train you. They trained me to cook for 150 people, and I did it. 150 people because I showed up, and I cooked for those people. But then guess what happened? We got Section 8, the disease got deeper, and I didn't have food because I was taking my money and doing what? Getting loaded. So I started stealing the food and hiding out in the back. I got busted. She said, Betty, we like you, but if you do it one more time, we're gonna fire you. Really? So, so I don't believe fat meets greasy, okay? I gotta test the waters. So I did it. It was around Christmas time. My mama looking for all 8 of her children to come home. Boy, that woman, talking about feasted, that sister could cook. And so we looking forward to going home. My brother, this is the first time she had all her kids together. So guess what I do? I steal one more time, and they fired me just before Christmas. But we made it home to L.A. Drugged out, looking bad. I got pictures of it now. Looking bad. I look back and say, oh my God, who is that? And we made it home, and the neighbor, and she's my mother now. You could knock on her door. She didn't care if you was an alcoholic. She didn't care if you were a drug addict. She didn't care if you didn't have no clothes. She didn't care if you didn't have anything. She said, be careful how you treat people, because you might be entertaining one of God's kids. And she opened her door to people and fed them. People in the neighborhood, Miss Irene, you got this? Come on in. Miss Irene, and she would feed the people in the neighborhood. She had tables of cakes and pies. I mean, it was feast for a king and queen, and she welcomed us. But she couldn't understand why my child is on this stuff. Why can't she get out? What is wrong with her? And she said, Betty, I didn't even know myself. And nothing hurts more than someone asks you, why can't you stop? And you don't know. I didn't have the answer. I did not have a clue. I had to have it. And so we stayed there where we took pictures and stuff. My mama was so happy that day. We hadn't been together in so many years. And so we did that. We came back to Sacramento. And what did I do after that? I know we had Section 8 still. I think I lived off my little money, whatever it was. But what happened, because we went to Sacramento, we got there in 91, and I left him in 92. Because my brother came to see me. He lived in Sacramento. He put me out of his house too, he and his wife. He said, "Bet I can't have Jimmy, y'all stuff in my house. Y'all too gone, and I can't have it here." So he put me out. Jimmy was in jail because he had jumped on me. Some people called the police. White folks again, rescued me, called the police on him. He went to jail, and I ended up in the firehouse. So we got back together. My kids was granted a visit to come. It didn't go too well. And when he get paranoid, okay? And my kids had left, and I was in the kitchen. He said, "What you putting in my food? I'm watching you." He would get extremely paranoid. And he would watch me. And he said, I could take your life, and I would never go to prison. And that hit me hard. And I wasn't looking good. My brother saw me. He called my mother. He said, "Betty's not doing too good." And she sent me a one-way ticket. And he dropped me off, and I ended up back in LA in 92, and I called that program. And I did not go. I got some money and I got loaded. And 93, I woke up that day and I said, I'm gonna get the alcohol, but I'm not gonna get the other stuff, right? I plotted it. I plotted it. I left my mama's house, like facing here. I went this way all the way around. I ain't getting no dope today. Guess what? I hit that corner, oh boy, stand. I said, "What's up? What you got?" And I got it, right? I went back to the house. I used it. And I came outside. I was sitting on the porch, a beautiful day, March 8th of 93. I came outside, I sat down, and the sky was a beautiful sunny day. And it said, "You are an alcoholic." You're an alcoholic. That's the problem. Pick up a drink, you're going to the drugs. You are an alcoholic. The sky opened up that day for me. I was free. I was free. I knew what the problem was. I knew the solution was. Because the first meeting I went to, and I loved Alcoholics Anonymous. I had done a 1-year outpatient program in LA. I did inpatient, but I had not surrendered. That day, I was done. I was finished. I didn't have to worry about it no more. I was done. I went and called that castle. I told my mom I'm going to a program tomorrow, which will be March 9th, 93. I called my son. I said, come over and take me. I'm going to a program tomorrow. I called Castle West. I called him a year before. He said, come tomorrow, March 9th. And I went. And I went and washed all these clothes by hand, hung them in the backyard on the fence. My mama never complained. In the bathroom, them clothes was damp when I took them to that program. And I went. My son came and got me. And I was there. Of course, I'm not going to pick up no man, right? All right. The women on this, men on that side. I come out my years old boy. I said, Lord, I am not come here for this. I come to get sober. So, back in the day, see what they did? They set you in the middle, and all your peers would tell you who and what you wasn't. They didn't play. I was dishonest. They said, you're in a relationship with this man. I am not in a relationship. We haven't had sex yet. How are we going to be in a relationship? I ain't slept with him. But we was, you know, them little looks you give each other. You get a little thick, you get a little hip. You know, you're looking good. You're looking like too thin Johnny coming in. So you're looking good now. So you're going to opposite sex. So they used to group me. The first time they grouped me, and I jumped up and ran, right? So the next time you sit here and you don't tell the truth, you got to leave. I sat there, and I couldn't take it, and I ran upstairs, and I started crying. I was not going back to where that neighborhood. I wasn't ready. And I called my baby sister. I said, Shirley, they want me to leave. She said, you ready to go? I said, no. She should tell them people you ain't going nowhere. That's what she told me. And I said, and I went and got started getting my clothes, everybody coming, talking to him. This guy came to me. He said, Betty, go in that bathroom. Get on that toilet and get on your knees. God did not bring you this far to leave you. And that's what I did. And I waited there that night. Eddie came in the next morning. I said, Eddie, I'm not ready to leave. He sent me to the mini house. It's on San Pedro in LA right now. It was a house on the corner. It was Minnie, Iona, Nancy, and Inez. These 4 black women started their recovery home for black, because no recovery home for people, women at that time. It was a house of ill repute. You know what the kind of house is, right? Yeah. Okay. And the rooms was upstairs, right? And I tell you, I believed it too. I felt it. When I walked up them stairs, my walk would change, right? And I could hear the music in the walls, and boy, I'm like, oh, I could have fit into this here real good. You know, them dresses, and I could see myself, you know. And I had a roommate named Vonda. She was Native American. And we had so much fun. And I came into the mini house. It's the best thing that could have happened to me. I needed to connect to women. You were not my friend. I couldn't hang with you, because all the dirt I was doing, you're going to know my business. And the first chance you get, you're going to dog me out. So I can't trust you. We can't hang. And that's how I thought and felt. And so I got to the mini house. They made me what they would do, that's what if you come in, if a new lady come in after you, that's your baby. You take her under your arms. You teach her how to do things, how to bathe, whatever she needed. And see, when I was in the castle, which I didn't know, when we detox, we have body odors. I didn't know I had that coming out of me, and someone went behind my back and it hurt me very badly. But I took that lesson and went to the mini house, and we were at our meetings, prayer meditation. I said, we're here to help each other stay sober. We're here to support each other. We're not going to talk about one another. If there's a problem, we bring it to someone in the office and you let them know. We're here to build each other up, not tear each other down. And I did that for a while, and then we had to clean on Saturday mornings. We had visitors on Sunday. Well, old boy came to see me. He was still over there. They kicked him out because he was kissing another girl. I found out later he wasn't honest, but the lady in the Evelyn said, Betty, you need to find out what went on over there. So anyway, we ended up together. And so anyway, I was at the mini house. They took us to Department of Rehabilitation. I signed up for that. And I ended up getting my children back. In 93, I went to the sober living. I stayed from 93 to 94. And back then, you could get Social Security if you had an alcohol and drug problem. So I got a check for myself and all my children, and that's how we paid rent. And God made that happen. And I went to school for 2 years and did the humans to be an alcohol and drug counselor. But I went to some meetings, and I heard a guy sharing that a lot of counselors are relapsing. I said, oh, no, that's not for me. My sobriety is first. Because I'm trying to help you, I'm going to get caught up in you, and don't forget about me. I couldn't afford that. So anyway, the first job I got, I was working, made $50 on a Friday. I took that job. Next job I had was a 2-hour job. I took that job. Then I got a 1-hour job, which made 3 hours a day. I took that job. Then I did in-home support work. I took that job. And in 98, God blessed me to start with Pacific Bell Telephone Company. I was 41 when I got sober. Emotionally, I was 16. I acted like a 16-year-old. I had no respect, no regard for anybody, me, myself, and I. And when I got into AA, I was not working all the steps. I had a sponsor. I believe in sponsorship still. 90 meetings in 90 days. I didn't have a car. Morning, noon, and night, I was in a meeting. I do that today. I believe in that. 90 meetings in 90 days. I didn't count my meetings. I don't count my days now. When I add a year, I have another year. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. So that's how my life has been. I got my kids back since I've been sober. I have 3 sons. My youngest has been in and out of prison since I've been sober. He's in there now. The other 2 have been out maybe at least 7 years. I stayed sober no matter what. I go to any lengths no matter what. My mother passed away. I saw my mother down, get effed up. It did not happen. I don't drink. I know what the problem is. I got to get into the solution. I can't afford self-pity. Okay? God wakes me up in the morning. I'm from the South. I got some spirituals I listen to. Attitude of gratitude. I must be grateful every single day. I've been down to the lowest of the lowest. I want to be as high as the highest. And I believe in being humble, because it's a great thing to be here sober today. 29th sobriety birthday. I've been having some breathing issues, right? 3 years ago. And that Sunday morning, I went to Fresno Fellowship, celebrated my 29th year, everything cool, went and ate and all that stuff. So I went home. My neighbors outside, I said, Melissa, you have a mask, for breathing machine. And I went in, and now this was Sunday. I don't remember going to bed. All I know, I jumped up out of my sleep. I knocked on my grandson's door. I said, Caden, I'm calling 911. He said, okay, Granny, on my front door. I'm thinking it's Sunday afternoon because there's a light in front of my apartment. And I'm on the phone. I said, ma'am, if you don't, I'm going to die. I knew I was dying. I knew it was over for me. I said, please send somebody. I gave my name, my address. Before they got there, I had passed out. I don't remember anything. I'm somewhere. It's not much light like this, but I could see myself laying like this up, just straight across. I could see myself. I'm not afraid. I'm comfortable. I'm okay. This voice, I would give, I don't know what I would give to hear it again. This voice, wake up and open your eyes. It was thunderous. And I'm like there, and I come up, and I feel something in my throat. I know I'm going to die if I'm going to get this out of my throat. It says, Betty, this is Dr. So-and-so. We have a tube in your throat. We're going to take it out. Just relax. And I'm listening to what he's saying. Just relax. And I go back down again. And wake up and open your eyes and come up again. She said, Betty, we have a tube in your throat. We're going to take out in a few minutes. Next thing, I wake up, I'm in a room, and there's a guy there. I don't know if you guys know about that mythical guy with Ray Show, the horn blower. He has red hair around here, and he's bald. So there. He said, I was here when you came in. I said, you were? He said, yeah. He said, 3 paramedics brought you in. You had no pulse. Your blood pressure was low. You don't look nothing like you did when you came in here. I said, really? He said, the way you woke up, as if you said, something said, said, wake up and open your eyes. I said, that's what happened. Was that you? That's what I asked. Because I was like, nobody would believe this. I can't tell people going to think I'm crazy. He said, no, it wasn't me. And I was in ICU for 3 days. He got to tell me about himself. He was in Sacramento. He's a respiratory therapist or something. He travels and stuff. And I just woke up out of this thing I don't remember. And in my head, I said, God, is this the man you're sending to me? Now I'm almost sick, right? And he's telling me, I'm thinking, this him? Crazy. I always look for a man. So and then the head nurse came in for the ICU. I said, I don't remember anything. She said, that's good. And my daughter, Loretta, told me later, she said, Mama, that doctor called me and said, we have your mama. Was she on a ventilator? Would she take a tube down her throat? She said, yes. She said, my mama ain't ready to die. And I said, I thank God my children know their mama. And he said, can I call your sister? She said, yes, you can call my sister. She said, about 20, 30 minutes, he called her back, your mama made it. God wants me here to be of service. I answer my phone. They ask me to do something, I do it. I belong to Alcoholics Anonymous wherever I go. It doesn't matter what fellowship. God wanted me. I do not understand this, that God had me here today. But he knew. I've gotten caught up with a little old boy again, another dude, okay? And it's getting kind of handsy, right? Let go, let God. Now, God knew this was going to come up. The timing is just so close. But he wanted me here. He assigned me this months ago when Irene asked me. He wanted me to be here to go through what I have to go through. Let go and trust God. And I had an issue with God, but I tell you, but for the grace of God, I stay here today. I give AA all that I have. I do not say no to an AA request. You know why? I never said no to drugs and alcohol. You offer me anything. But check this out. When I get sober, now drugs and alcohol, I didn't say who did it, who cooked it. Now I get medicine. What's the side effects? What are they going to do to my liver? What are they going to do to my kidney? Is it going to make me dizzy? Am I going to gain 50 pounds? Oh, my God. What? I ain't never asked the man who cooked this. Baking soda. How much cocaine you put? I ain't never questioned nothing I got. Not even the liquor store. But I get sober. Oh, it's going to affect my kidney. I can't take too many of those. I'm going to die with liver failure. But alcohol going to kill me anyway. The drugs going to kill me. I can take something like that. The alcoholic thinking. I forget. God is in my life. I'm his child. I answer the phone because the old timers have been there for me. If you could have heard the old timers, and I got sober in South Central LA, 9604 South Figueroa. And I thought about it not long ago, the men, right, coming down, and the prostitutes all over the place, right? And I didn't think about men. I didn't have much for men. But I admire the men. I have respect for them because they hurt like us. They love their children like we do. They want to be around their children. They deserve as much respect as we as women want. And I've seen men cry in AA. Okay? I've not had an AA relationship yet. But I'm going to come with a warning. I'm letting them know I'm a handful. I'll be up to the job. So I'm grateful for y'all asking me to be here. It's been a pleasure. And I got 32 seconds left. And I thank you all. I'm grateful, and I'll keep coming back. Thank you.